legends, I hope you're all amazing. I've got my Marshall 2959 back from Jason at Headfirst Amplification, and I'm super stoked with the way this amp is sounding. Jason did a few mods. He also serviced the amp and basically got it to full working condition. In the last video that I did with this amp, I kind of mentioned that I wanted to have the option of essentially bypassing the mods on here, and Jason set this up in a way that allows that. But first, let's talk about the mods that have been done. If you plug into this top input here, which I'm not plugged into at the moment, there is an extra Jose style gain stage in here. So this amp originally had a tube driven spring reverb in here. The previous owner removed the spring reverb in there but left the tube. So Jason has utilized that extra tube in there and added an extra gain stage. There is a pot to control the amount of gain on there. Furthermore, there is a pre-phase inverter master volume control that's been added here. There's a reverb knob that's original on the amp. That is now the master volume control. So basically, if you plug into the low input and you turn that master volume control all the way up, you're bypassing this first gain stage and you're taking the master volume completely out of the circuit. So it's just the stock amp. It's going to give you those classic super lead tones that we heard in there. As you back off the master volume control, you're not going to slam the phase inverter as hard. You won't have as much of that characteristic like plexi power tube distortion. And if you use the top input, you've got an extra gain stage on there. The channels are internally jumpered on here, so you can just blend volume 1 and volume 2 the way you would on a classic non-master volume Marshall amp. But all of those together kind of give you this unique animal where, like I said, as you back off the master volume, you get less of that power amp distortion, but you can bring in the Jose gain stage on there to make up for it. Furthermore, you can like balance out volume 1 and volume 2 on there essentially as their own gain stage in there, which is super interesting. So I'll give you an example of this. What I'm going to do is start out with the reverb control, the master volume. It's at about 1 o'clock right now and I'm plugged into the low inputs. So basically what I'm able to do is use volume 1 and volume 2 as gain controls on here. So check this out. I'll just dial it in for a nice rock crunch, but then I'm going to back off the master volume and you'll hear the amp clean up a bit. So that is pretty cool, being able to control that plexi rasp in there with the master volume control is quite nice on there. So I kind of find the sweet spot is somewhere between noon and maybe about 1 o'clock on there. You can kind of hear there is that onset of that real characteristic Marshall crunch. It's a real nasty old school distortion sound on there. Now, if I wanted to back that off and obviously have less volume, which is kind of handy on here, I could then just use the top input, and now I've got that extra Jose style gain stage on there. So I'll start with this around noon and just bring it up. Basically, it's going to slam the front end of the amp. So I've got this gain control, I've got volume 1 and volume 2, and then I've got the master volume in there to really shape the overall character of the distortion. It's kind of cool. Loving this thing with this 79335. It's kind of nice. 79 Marshall, 79335. I've got the master volume control pretty close to about 3 o'clock now on here. Low input. What I'm going to do is let you hear that, and then I'm just going to add some extra gain from the high input and the Jose gain stage. Check this out. Whole lot of time with this amp to really hone in on the settings that I'm comfortable with. But again, the fact that you've kind of got this 3-stage gain structure in here with the optional extra Jose gain stage, the ability to do the classic plexi thing, balancing out volume 1 and volume 2, and then the addition of the pre-phase inverter master volume control on there just makes this amp so much more usable. I love the way it sounded in its stock form, but it just kind of did the one thing. Now it does that thing and so much more. Having a vintage Marshall that is not just kind of inspiring sounding, but it looks cool. It's got some really usable mods on there, and, you know, was done by a friend of mine and somebody who I really trust as an amp tech and kind of a Marshall historian in Jason. If you haven't subscribed to Jason's YouTube channel, Headfirst Amps, do it. It is amazing. Jason does some incredible mod work and also designs his own amps, which I've featured on the channel. So massive shout out to Jason. I'm so glad that Jason was actually able to work on one of my amps, and now I've got an amp in here that when I just kind of look at it, I go, yeah, I want to plug that thing in. So you're going to hear a lot more of this amp on the channel. Would love to know your thoughts in the comments section below, and go and check out the Pete Thorne video where he's got the original like Mick Mars Richard Fortus amp that has very similar modifications to this one on here. I do like that because this is using the 2959 as a starting point. You know, the only real giveaway on the front panel is this extra knob down here, but neither of these two inputs worked anyway. So it's a pretty unique amp. I'm so fortunate to have it in my collection. If you like what I'm doing here on the channel, links to my music and my Patreon in the video description. I'll link Jason's channel and the Headfirst Amps page in the comment section as well. Hope you have a great day. I will see you all next time. Cheers.